What's going on, everybody? So it's Jesse back with What Now Society, and today is an exciting day because today is flooring day. So the flooring is finally going down. It's right there. There's the insulation, and I am making a trip right now to the hardware store to pick up the subfloor and some more materials that I'm gonna need. I'm gonna try to get the whole thing down. I got all day, so I'm gonna try to get the whole floor down and all the steps, all the layers today. So hopefully that'll work. I apologize. I am actually at my parents' house watching my brother for the day. Plus they have all the tools, so that actually works out. But I forgot my tripod. So this video might be a little bit shaky, but it'll get the job done either way. So yeah, let's take a drive to the hardware store and get what we need, and I will be right back. Okay, so I am back from the hardware store, and I look a mess, so I'm not going to show myself. So I'm just give my materials real quick. So the van's out here. So the first thing I'm going to do is put down a subfloor, and that subfloor is going to be 1/2-inch plywood, which is right here. Underneath the 1/2-inch plywood is going to be another layer of my thermal barrier here, my Reflectix. On top of the plywood is going to be my vapor barrier, my underlayment, foam underlayment, and then here is my pergo floor, which is going to look awesome in there. So I have a whole process for it. Oh, and then I got some brushed nickel trim, which I think is going to look real nice. So first thing I got to do, and of course it's raining, is I am going to section this out. So let me do some measurements here, and then I'll kind of show you how this is going to be installed. And then once I'm done with that, I'll kind of explain how I'm going to put the pieces together. So I'll be right back. Okay, of course, as soon as I went outside to start making measurements, it started to pour. So I made the measurements real quick, and then I went inside to sketch it out. So, okay, so here are the dimensions. And if you have a G20, mine's a 1994, but if you have a G20 that's between, I think it's like 1987 to 1995, don't quote me, but the body shape is all pretty much exactly the same. You want to double check measurements, but this is pretty much how it is. So the dimensions that I have are lengthwise, I'm 118 inches, and widthwise, and this is widthwise to the metal studs. So the actual outside dimensions of the van kind of bubble out. However, if you measure within the studs, you get a nice even square. So there's a tip. Measure to the metal studs that go up the side of the van. Do not measure out to the wall. The outside of the wall is not going to be seen because it's going to be behind the wall. There's going to be a little gap between the body line and the outside of the floor. There's going to be a little bit of gap, but don't worry about that because that's going to be behind the upright walls. So you're squared off at 118 inches by 70.5 inches. And so what I did is I measured it out, and I'm gonna install this in 3 pieces. So there's gonna be 3 pieces of plywood. The first one will be nice even square, 48 by 70.5. That'll be in the front. I'm gonna leave a 1-inch gap here, and I'll get to that here in just a second. So a 1-inch gap, which I'll fill with that brushed nickel trim up front, right behind the driver's seat. Then the 48 by 70.5. The next piece, when I put this in, it'll also be 48.7D.5. However, it will have the recesses cut in for the wheel wells. If I leave that 1-inch gap and add this up, this piece, the way the math works out, will take me exactly to the back of the wheel well. So I'll have nice square lines. I won't have to worry about that. Again, there'll be little areas here where it won't be covered because, right, the wheel wells have rounded edges. Don't worry about that because your wheel wells are going to be covered. At least mine are going to be covered. So I'm not real worried about some unclean edges here. Okay, so there's that. And then there'll be a nice square back piece, 21 inches by 70.5, and then it'll take me right to the back of the body. So leaving that 1-inch gap makes this nice and square. Okay, so there's my measurements. And it's 62 inches to the wheel well is 35 inches, and then 21. That all adds up to 118. And then you take, with leaving that 1-inch gap, this is really going to be a 61-inch spread. So there's my rough estimates, there's my rough line. So this is where I'm actually going to cut the pieces of insulation. I'm going to cut those in, and then I'm going to lay them into the floor. And there's a electrical inlet right here, and there's some HVAC inlets right here, as well as the step in is right here. I'm going to cut these pieces just bulk, just square. Then I'm going to put them in, and I'm going to use them to develop a template. Once I have these 3 templates developed, then I will use that to cut. Oops, sorry, my finger. I will use that to cut the plywood boards. and then I will get to that more once I'm able to start doing that. So my first thing I need to do is make these 3 pieces of Reflectix insulation. Once I get those made, then I can use those to cut the plywood, and then we'll go from there. So I'm going to watch the radar here, hopefully get the rain under wraps here so I can get started. But in the meantime, hi Carly, how are you? Big girl. Are you a big girl? Look how nice. Alright guys, I will be back. Okay, like I said in my last video, excuses aren't going to work anymore. So, yes, it is raining out, but we're going to get work done. Okay, so the Reflectix is 48 inches wide, which is excellent. So what I did here is I measured it out and squared it off nice and clean, taped it down. Under here is a piece of the plywood. So using it as a table right now, but it'll work out here in the end. So there's my 70.5 inches. So this will be the front piece. This will be the piece right behind the driver's seats. So I got a straight edge here, which is my trim. So I'm going to cut this off, and then I'll be able to take that into the van, lay it in, and then by hand I'll be able to sculpt in or put in the inlet, the receptacle for the wiring, and the step. So it'll be nice and clean. Then I can bring this right back in here, tape it down to the plywood, and then I have a perfect template to cut the plywood with. So I'm gonna make this cut, and then I'm gonna wait for the rain to cut down a little bit because I'll probably pass out in the van, seeing as it's so hot out. Then I'm gonna go out into the van and cut the template. So yeah, that'll be the next step. Hopefully I can get myself not looking like crap so I can put myself back on camera. It's like 105% humidity here in Pennsylvania. So, all right guys, I'll be back. Alright guys, so it is pouring, like pouring outside. I just don't want to have the doors open on the van. Can you see it pouring out there? No. I just don't want to have the doors open on the van and the water come in and get wet. Anyways, so there's my first piece. My first piece is all cut out. So what I'm going to do is I have my drawings here. I'm going to cut out all 3 pieces of insulation. While I have the time here, while it's raining, I'm going to cut out the 3 pieces of insulation. 2 of these are exactly the same size, then 1 is the one that's 21 inches. And remember, these are just rough cuts, so when I get them in the van is when I'll actually use them and kind of by hand sculpt around the edges and sculpt around the, like everything, you know, the walls and stuff to make sure it fits nice and snug. So once I get these 3 pieces done, I'm gonna take a little break. I watched the radar. It looks like this is gonna clear up in an hour or so. It's still pretty early in the day, so we have some time. And then as soon as this clears up enough that I can keep the doors open on the van, we'll get in there and we'll start doing that. So look for, just gonna get this done, this boring stuff here. I found this straight edge though, and here's a tip. If you have the straight edge, clamp it down so it gives you a perfectly straight edge and it doesn't move around on you. So trying to do this as precisely as possible, you know, to make sure that it's nice and snug. So look for next, I'll be measuring out in here, and then I also want to go over the plan that I have for the flooring to make it that it's reusable and removable. So we'll get to that in a minute, but yeah, I'm going to get to this. I'm sweating, as you can see. Oh my gosh, this garage is like a sauna right now, but hey, you know what, maybe I'm losing a few pounds. So yeah, I'll be back. Okay guys, I had to real quick, I couldn't make this up. So there's my 2 pieces. I needed 1 more piece, and I needed it to be 70.5 inches wide by 21 inches deep for the last very part. This is my last piece of Reflectix. My roll is completely gone. I laid it out, and it is 70.5 inches on the nose. There's some good van karma for you. Okay, so the rain has stopped finally. So what I did is, this is panel number 1. So this is the panel that goes right there. The first 48 inches by 70.5. So I put this in. I put the whole panel into the van. I got in there with my X-Acto knife and I trimmed it up. So I had the trim off this end, about, oh, I don't know what that is, maybe 6 inches off this end for the step. And then I had to trim in this for the electrical inlet, which is right there where the computer system is. I double, triple checked, and it is all good to go. So now I'm taping it down to my plywood subfloor, and I'm going to trace it out, and then I'm going to move this operation outside now that it is nice out, and we're going to cut the first piece of floor. So let me get this drawn up, and then we'll move outside. All the measuring came out well, and we have a first piece of subfloor down. Fits nice and snug. Okay, so I'm going to do section 2 and section 3 and get those cut out, and then once I'm ready for all of those, I'll dry fit them in. We'll give an update, and I'll explain to you exactly how this floor is going to be layered in. So yeah, I got some work to do. Okay, I look disgusting and it's been raining, so I'm also soaked. However, look at that. That's a floor. It's wavy right now because it's not bolted down, but there it is. So there is the subfloor. It's all in, and yeah, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Realize that, because, like, you know, there's gaps. This isn't a gap. This is just, it's out of whack. But like against the wheel wells, there's little gaps and stuff. You want those in there because it's gonna move around, it's gonna expand, it's gonna contract, and all of my wheel wells and the walls are gonna be behind either the wall, because there's going to be a little bit of space between the wall and the actual side of the van, or it's going to be covered in furniture. So why take the extra time to make sure that it's absolutely perfect if you're never going to see it again after the build is done? So anyways, I'm just really excited. I've waited so long to be at this step, and we're there. So so yeah, let me now show you exactly how this is going to work as far as installing these. Okay, so like I said, I have the insulation, the subfloor that we just showed, and then over here, sorry for the mess, I have my thermobarrier that's going to go on top of the wood. So how this is going to work is I'm going to pull out each one of these individual pieces. So I'm about to pull out the back piece. I'm going to glue it down to this, and then cut a piece of this, glue it down on top, and then repeat it with the other two pieces that are in front here. So it's going to be 3 separate pieces, and I want to glue, now here's the trick, I'm going to glue the thermobarrier and the vapor barrier to the wood. Not the van, to the wood. Now, why would I do that? Because say I drive this van for 10 minutes after I finish this build and the motor goes. I can go out and I can find another 94 G20, and I can rip all this out and put it in a third of the time that it took me to do this original build, because nothing is touched down. Now, the insulation that I have on the windows, that's a different story. But I can pop this floor out in 20 minutes now and put it, now I'm going to screw it down, but I can pop the screws out, pop the whole floor out, and put it in a new van in an hour. So that's my rationale on there. So I'm going to get started on that, and I will show you once I make a little bit of progress. Okay, quick explanation here before my phone dies, and then I'll go put it on the charger. So I'm going to take a break here once I finish this step. So I already put the Reflectix, the thermobarrier, on one side of each of the floor panels, and it's underneath. It's glued on, just getting dry. Now I'm putting the vapor barrier, the underlayment for the flooring, on top. So I sandwiched them between the floor, sandwiched the subfloor between the thermobarrier and the underlayment vapor barrier. So they'll be sandwiched together, one solid piece. They'll go right in and pop right out. So yeah, my next step is I'm going to be to get this barrier on all 3 of these pieces, let them dry. I'm going to go take a break, let my phone charge, get something to eat, and then we will be back to put the whole floor in, and then comes that. Whew, all right, we are thermobarriered and vapor barriered and all glued and ready to go. So I'm gonna give these about a half hour to cure and dry out, and I'm gonna dry out. Good workout though. And then we're gonna install the floor. So yeah, I'm gonna take a break. I will be back in about a half hour. All right guys, so I got myself cleaned up a little bit and changed my shirt. So I started editing what I worked on this morning, and I realized that there is, I really covered every single step in the video, and I really wouldn't be comfortable chopping any of that out. So I'm gonna make this a two-part video. So I'm gonna end it right here. So this is my outro. It's a part one. I'm gonna upload this today, this afternoon. I am gonna finish the flooring today. Part two will be uploaded tomorrow evening. So part one will be uploaded, so up until the subfloor, and then tomorrow you'll see the video about putting the subfloor in and putting the actual wood floors in. So I'm gonna end this here. Check back tomorrow. Thank you for joining. Thank you for the support as always. I'm so excited to be at this step. You know, some people reached out to me after the last video, encouraging stuff, and I'm ready to go again. I'm motivated again. So thank you guys. I will see you later.